Namaskar, welcome to Learning It. My name is Dr. Hemant, and in this today's lecture we are going to see scope and excitement of physics. So this is the first chapter, second topic, and the chapter name is Physical World, Intermediate Physics. So let's see what we have in this lecture. So first of all, we will discuss about the scope of physics. So basically the physics, as we have discussed in our last lecture, that physics is what is physics and what is science, and this is nothing but a systematic study. Now the next step comes that what are the different division in it. So when we talk about physics, it is broadly divided into two categories: macroscopic and microscopic domain. So what it means about macroscopic and microscopic domain is that in macroscopic domain we discuss about astronomical or big objects which we can physically see in our eyes, which are large enough in size. Whereas in case of microscopic object, what we see here, we are discussing about atomic, molecular and nuclear scales, where we cannot see those particles or those entities with the naked eyes. So that kind of objects we discuss in the category of microscopic domain. Now talking about the branches of physics, so as we say here that it have two main domains, macroscopic and microscopic. So similarly, accordingly, the physics branches are divided basically in two major categories, and that is classical physics and quantum physics. So this is the major category we will heard about as you proceed further in your physics study in higher classes, and also all these different divisions will be becoming very clear with time, and we will understand more about why they are differentiated and how we are going to make a difference in it. So talking about the different division in classical physics. So when I say that there are two domains, one is macroscopic, microscopic, and in macroscopic we are talking mostly the branch of physics which deals with the classical physics, and in quantum physics where the classical physics the models, the theories which is not work very well, so there we apply the quantum physics concept, which basically deals with that very small entities like electron, protons, very small molecules. But let's see first classical physics. So this is further divided into different subjects like mechanics, electrodynamics, optics and thermodynamics. So let me give you some examples about mechanics. So for example, you see that rocket gas jet, when a rocket is going into sky, and then you see the jet coming out of it. So that is an example of mechanics. And you are also talking about wave propagation on the water, or you talk about the bending of the rod, or many just motion of rail engine. They are all problems of physics, the mechanics. Now talking about electrodynamics, then what kind of problems we are dealing with it. So in this case we did this electric and magnetic motors you see around at your home and at different places, and also you talk about that AC current, AC DC voltages, working of the antenna, propagation of waves in the air, in the vacuum, problems like lightning, induction. All those are problems are dealt in this category of electrodynamics. So we will see more into it once we are discussing about those terms, and then you will clearly differentiate between that what is mechanics, what is electrodynamics, and then what is optics. In optics, basically what we deal with is the phenomena of light, like working of the telescope, microscope. If you see, they are all the problems of optics which we deal with. Now talking about thermodynamics, so this is having the word dynamics, but in contrast of mechanics, it doesn't deal with the motion of bodies as a whole. Rather, it is a system. It deals with the system of macroscopic equilibrium and concerned with changes in the internal energy, momentum, entropy, etc. through external work or transfer of heat. So these are the terms, entropy, internal energy, and equilibrium, thermal equilibrium. These are all the terms which you will hear once you are discussing about thermodynamics problems and related topics. So similarly, as we see in classical physics, we have the branches or subjects in quantum physics as well. This is have a mechanics, but there we call it quantum mechanics. The quantum word we add because here the physics is not exactly the all the theories and prediction. As we have discussed in the first chapter, there is a limit for every theory and concept, and we add modifications. So when we are talking about macroscopic scale, there are certain theories or concepts which work very well for classical physics related objects, which is physically we can see are large enough, but they are not very well able to explain lots of phenomena at the macroscopic scale, and there we have certain modification and addition of the assumption in those theories, and then they are very well explained with the existing physics with that advanced level of addition and hypothesis assumed in those cases. So in that case we add the quantum here, and then similarly but of course the whole basic remains the same, but you are going to add different conditions, and then you analyze and make different models, and then you study about it. So again you may feel it is very complicated, but as you proceed further in the subject you will understand more and more what we are discussing here today. But here the whole objective here to tell you that what are the different branches of physics and how they are different with each other, and when time comes and we will learn more, and then you will again remember this, that how we are discussing about different branches in this case. So similarly we have quantum mechanics, quantum electrodynamics, quantum optics, quantum thermodynamics, and of course at microscopic scale atomic physics and molecular physics. So these are the some topics or subjects you talk about in physics. Once you proceed further they become more and more specific and more when you go more deep into it, you will learn that okay, these are the different domains and how physics can be a slightly different from one type of subject to the other one. So but of course first of all you have to understand the first basic physics, and then you go to the advanced level and more deeper into it to understand and explain more and more complicated phenomena. So now this is all about the scope of it. Now let's talk about the excitement in physics. So in physics we are talking about from macroscopic to microscopic. So we are talking about 10 power minus 14 meter at microscopic scale, where we are talking about distance between the nucleus and the electrons and the size of electron, dimension of electron, and also at one end we are talking about the size of galaxy, which is of the order of 10 power 26 meter. If you talk about time scale, then you just divide the speed of light, which is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. If you multiply or divide this speed of light with the distance we are talking about, which is of the range of 10 power minus 14 meter to 10 power 26 meter, will come something around 10 power minus 22 seconds to 10 to power 18 seconds. So these are the range of time we are talking about. You can see that time scale, the range of time scale, the range of distance, the range of weight we are talking about. For example, if it was the weight of electron is somewhere of the order of 10 power minus 30 kilogram, and if you talk about weight of the highest known object of the universe, then that is weighing around somewhere to about 55 kilograms. So you can see that range of weight we are talking about here is really huge and very huge. And the most striking part of physics is that not only deal a range of objects or entities, it is also interesting to use the laws of physics, the learnings in the physics, to exploit physical laws to make useful devices which where engineering and technology branches emerge. For example, civil engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, and many more, and where we are dealing with many different application oriented. For example, we are traveling with the train, we are traveling with the aeroplane, we are using mobile phone, we are using laptop, computer. So they are all the result of those learnings from the physics, the basic principles, the experiments, and then compiling it and bringing it in applied area, and then now we are using it, which have made our life very easy. So this is what the objective of physics we are going to to make our approach towards it with the more application oriented, and ultimately it should be benefit the society. For example, if you talk about the application orientation, then from physics of the jet propulsion, the aerodynamics, and then engineering, electronics, civil, everything it goes into this kind of object where now we are able to fly to the moon, and now we are talking about Mars and even beyond areas. So talking about next is that the scope and expanded rate of physics, then we'll hear many terms, for example models, hypothesis in the when we proceed further in the physics study. And then before we go into that and you get confused what is model, what is hypothesis, let me clear you a little about it. So in physics, as we discussed in last lecture, that everything mostly can be expressed in a precise mathematical form where you can make your the observation and that observation converted into models, and that can be used to predict various phenomena and explain various observations which is observed in the physics. So this is a kind of provide a platform where we can do a quantitative measurement and which makes it the central of the science and especially for the physics. So but a very important thing that we cannot take into account all the complexity of a phenomena. So for example, we talk about a simple ball, the baseball you talk about. So once you throw this baseball, so you will have let's say you are throwing in this direction, and then you can have in air, so there will be air resistance, then there will be working of the gravity, and then its own spin, it will rotate, right? So see the complications. Now if you want to explain this throwing of the baseball, then you have to deal with the spin of it and then air resistance and then gravity, and if you are trying to solve it in a very simpler way, it is not very possible, it becomes very complex. So what is the best approach which we follow mostly in this case is that, so the best strategy is that first make the problem very simple. So what we will do is that, so first what we will consider is that this ball as a point object, right? So once we are considering that this is a point object, so we just get rid of that air resistance. So okay, so we don't have to worry about this. Now the gravity on it can be considered as constant. So here you see that as the object falls and at different heights the gravity can vary, and that we will study in our coming chapters in physics. But for the time being, so if the gravity is variable with the height, but in this case it can be a constant, we can assume that the gravitational force on this ball will be constant. And also you don't have to worry about the spin once it is object. So what you can do is that you solve this problem. First you make some assumptions, right, and then based on that assumptions you make a model, and then once you make the model, then you add the complexity. Now you add a spin in the model, and then you figure out and modify the equation, then you add the terms air resistance, and then you further modify. So this is how you move from a simpler approach to complicated one, and how you can use the basic physics principle to make complicated models, right? So this is that one approach, like how in physics we start with some assumptions where you try to exploit the basic physics laws, and then add the complexity once we progress, first solving at a time one simple problem, and then adding the complexity one by one, and then modifying our model, and using this final model to use these complex models to explain the complex phenomena observed in the universe. And this is how you proceed, and this is the best approach to make to explain different phenomena in physics. So this is where we are talking about models, how the models are developed, how the basic physics are used, how the approach and objections are made, and then from the simplistic approach we go towards the complicated approach. So this is why the way you should be learning and doing when you are going deep in the physics in our further upcoming chapters. So now coming to the term, now we have seen the models. So model is nothing but that theory proposed to explain observed phenomena, where I discussed that we start with the very simplistic approach and then make it more complicated models based on that our different condition addition and different assumption and verifying with the experiment. But when we talk about hypothesis, so it is a, or you can say axiom, so it is a self-evident truth, means it cannot be it is assumed that it is the condition, then we are making our models. So for example, you talk about that two objects, right? So if you talk about there are two objects, and then the assumption is that always the two objects attract each other, and then the force between them is proportional to their, let's say they have two masses m1 and m2, and we assume that their force is proportional to m1 m2 and then inversely proportional to square of the distance. Then with this assumption we can explain many phenomena, many observation and must show. For example, falling of the object in the earth, or moving around of the sun, moon or earth around the sun or around the earth. So all these can be explained with just these assumptions. So this can be a hypothesis which you cannot prove it. So, and it is not fair to ask someone to prove the gravitation, because it cannot be proved. It can be verified with the experiment, but you cannot prove that okay, this is the universal law of physics where it is proportional to, force is proportional to the two masses and inversely proportional. It is assumed, it is a hypothesis. We assume that if this is true, then we can explain the phenomena, and based on then the whole complex equations and the models are built, and we can have a different assumption at this stage, but the whole physics will change. So now once this has been assumed and based on that the whole building has been prepared, then we have to follow these assumptions and we have to consider it true, and then we are able to explain. So this is how we are going to learn the nature, so trying to make our models to explain the phenomena of the nature and represent it in the mathematical forms. So for example, if you talk about Einstein theory of relativity, we will hear it or we will learn it in the latter part of your physics chapter. So here there are two assumptions. One is that the speed of light is constant. The second assumption is the physics laws are valid in all frame of reference. So you assume that the speed of light is constant, and then physics laws are valid in all frame of reference. Then you can and if you don't consider these postulates, you cannot have a special theory of relativity valid. And if you ask someone that you prove that the speed of light is constant and physical laws are valid in all frames of reference, you cannot prove it. It is just a hypothesis, axiom and a postulate which cannot be. We have assumed that this is true, and then based on that we are able to explain lots of phenomena, and this is how we are going to decode the nature's physics in our language in mathematical forms. The very simplest example you can take is so for example, you consider the two straight lines and they never meets. So this is a hypothesis. You cannot prove that the two parallel lines cannot meet ever. It is just the hypothesis. If you assume it, then we can explain lots of geometry problems, lots of two-dimensional, three-dimensional figure problems made out of it. But it's not like that you cannot have a different hypothesis. You can have a different hypothesis related to geometry, and then you can come up with the completely different new geometry, and you can have a different explanation to prove it. And it indeed had happened in the past, but what we have built, and we have built our theories on those hypotheses, you cannot prove it, but now we assume that is true, and then based on that we are able to explain many other things. So this is how the difference between the models, where models are used derived from the more simplest basic principles to adding more complexity and making it more robust for explaining the complex phenomena of nature, of physics. And in case of models, hypothesis, this is a self-evident truth. We cannot explain it, but you have to assume to explain certain things, and then you are able to explain those in the real world. That's it for this lecture. I hope you have understood the scope, the excitement, the different branches, how they are divided, and what are the basic domain, microscopic, macroscopic, and the importance of hypothesis, axioms, and the models, and the approach to solve the complicated physics problems. So this will end this lecture here, and we'll meet you in the next lecture. The title of that next topic would be Physics and Technology and Society. So thank you very much.